The French Revolution ended centuries of absolute monarchy in France. It is a story of angry crowd and new ideas that shaped the modern world with the Enlightenment. In the late 1700s, France was divided into three groups, called estates. The first estate was the clergy, the second estate the nobles, and the third estate the common people, farmers, city workers, and the middle class. The first two groups lived in privilege, paying no taxes, while the third estate carried all the burden. By 1788, France was drowning in debt from costly wars, including the American Revolution. Harvests failed, bread prices doubled, and families went hungry. In contrast, King Louis XVI and Queen Marie Antoinette lived in luxury at the Palace of Versailles, with glittering halls and endless feasts. This contrast between starving peasants and royal excess filled the country with anger. In May 1789, desperate for money, King Louis XVI called the Estates General in Versailles. It was the first time in 175 years that this assembly met. The Third Estate demanded fair representation, but the king and nobles ignored them. In June, they broke away, forming the National Assembly. Locked out of their hall, they gathered in a nearby indoor tennis court, swearing the famous tennis court oath, a promise to never separate until France had a constitution. This was the first open challenge to royal authority. On July 14, 1789, Paris exploded. Crowds armed with sticks, axes, and muskets marched to the Bastille, a dark medieval fortress that symbolized royal power and fear. They wanted gunpowder to defend themselves. After hours of cannon fire and gunshots, smoke covered the city and the gates fell. The Bastille was taken, its governor killed, and his head paraded through the streets. Only a few prisoners were freed, but the impact was enormous. The Bastille became a symbol of freedom and people's power. That day marked the true birth of the French Revolution, now remembered every year as Bastille Day with fireworks and parades. In August 1789, the National Assembly wrote the Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen. Inspired by Enlightenment thinkers and the American Revolution, it declared that all men were born free and equal, with rights to liberty, property, and security. Old feudal privileges of nobles and clergy were abolished. In October, thousands of Parisian women, angry over high bread prices, marched 20 kilometers to Versailles. Beating drums and carrying weapons, they forced the king and queen to leave their palace and move to Paris, where the people could watch them. Marie Antoinette became a hated symbol of wealth, remembered for the phrase, "Let them eat cake," a legend likely false, but powerful. In June 1791, the king tried to escape in disguise with his family, the flight to Varennes, but was caught. Trust in the monarchy was destroyed. Meanwhile, foreign kings grew worried. Austria and Prussia, fearing revolution would spread, declared war on France in 1792. The fighting gave strength to radical voices in Paris. In September 1792, the monarchy was abolished and France became a republic. King Louis XVI was tried for treason and executed by guillotine in January 1793. Queen Marie Antoinette followed in October. Across Europe, monarchs were horrified. Inside France, the revolution grew darker, moving toward violence and radical control. The revolution, once filled with songs of liberty, now echoed with fear. At first, people feared soldiers and hunger. Later, under the Jacobins and their leader Robespierre, fear came from within. In 1793, the Committee of Public Safety ruled France. They said terror was necessary to protect freedom. The guillotine stood in Paris like a steel monster, its blade falling daily in the main square. Nobles, priests, and even former revolutionaries were executed. By 1794, thousands had lost their lives. This period, called the Reign of Terror, showed both the strength and the danger of revolution, dreams of liberty, but also nights filled with fear. Robespierre, once called the Incorruptible, became the face of the terror. At first admired for his ideals, he was later feared as a dictator. Even his allies turned against him. On July 27, 1794, he was arrested in the National Convention. The next day, Robespierre and his closest supporters were executed by guillotine. His death ended the reign of terror and brought a more moderate government. The Directory. The Directory, ruling from 1795, promised stability but delivered corruption and weakness. France was still at war, poverty was everywhere, and the people longed for order. Out of this chaos rose Napoleon Bonaparte, a brilliant young general who won victories on the battlefield. In 1799, he staged the coup of 18 Brumaire, seizing power and declaring himself first consul. The revolution officially ended, replaced by the rule of Napoleon. Liberty, equality, and fraternity remained as ideals, but the people accepted authority in exchange for stability. The French Revolution proved that ordinary people can change history. It destroyed absolute monarchy, inspired rights and democracy worldwide, but also showed how freedom can turn into fear. Its legacy still echoes. Liberty is powerful, but fragile. Change is possible, but it always comes with risks.